A very good afternoon to everyone, respected team, Marshall sir, Nagar sir, Captain Rai, principal, team of 𝐍𝐢𝐫𝐸 education team, faculty. I think most importantly, the students. I just can't, I'm just trying to go back to the time when I went to the graduation, dais, after having worked hard and after having learned so much. The feeling of how these years just passed by, how much you've learned, how much you've interacted with faculty, the new friends you've made, and suddenly that entire moment just goes away in a waste. I really, really want to congratulate you all. Today we are living in an unprecedented time. Exciting times. We're talking and hearing about metaverse, we're talking about the future of energy, from diesel cars going to electric vehicles, 5G, IoT, etc. It's such exciting times. Advancement of technology, advancement of pharmaceuticals. I mean, today the world is your oyster. But at the same time, we're also living through a lot of challenging times. We've seen the pandemic, we've seen wars happening even at this time. The most challenging thing for all of you is going to be that today, you're not only going to be, after you step out of this room, competing with the people from within this room, but competing with everyone in this globe. That's where the whole world is gone to today. Today, the world has become a boundaryless world. Today, even when we know that the founder of WhatsApp was someone who used to be a janitor from a Ukrainian background who came up with this idea. Today, anyone with a great idea and the ability to execute that idea and dreams into reality is the one who will be able to succeed. We hear about hundreds of, thousands of startups and thousands of successful companies, but we do not hear about the 99% of the ones who tried and failed. It's that 1% which is really going to make that difference. In today's convocation, I'm extremely proud on behalf of 𝐍𝐢𝐫𝐸 education that we've had 148 of you over here who now become part of the 𝐍𝐢𝐫𝐸 education family through camping. Only thing I can do right now is be able to share with you through my own personal experiences what I've learned. Some of the things that have stayed on with me as an individual, as a professional, as a human being, as a father, as a son, which I think I'd like to share with you, and I hope these are helpful to you. There are 5 things I want to share with you, which I have gathered till now in my life. I still consider myself young, so I have a long way to go. But I think you'll all be able to relate with what I'm trying to say. The first and the most important thing I've learned in my life is humility. Humility doesn't only mean that, being humble, or the bigger you become, the more grounded you become. Humility in terms of having the urge to learn more, being a student of life. Just because you have completed a graduation from this particular college, do not put a mind block in yourself that you will not be able to learn more. Continuously challenge yourself and learn. I myself, every year I make it a point for at least 4 or 5 days to go to some education executive program, or spend time with some mentor, or spend time with in some conference, just educating myself, learning a lot more about things that are around me. Because the day we sort of tell ourselves that we know everything is the first day of our really going down the rabbit hole. When I'm talking about humility, it also relates to being a good listener. I know in our generation, our patience level is almost 0. But trust me, being a good listener, being a good learner is a core essence of the humility that you're going to have. That was the first and most important thing I think I would like to share with you, what I have carried on or tried to practice and follow till now. The second thing which came on to me at a very, very young age is something which, when I was 15 years old, I knew I come from a business family, and my father, who I really looked up to, who was my idol, who was my mentor, kept telling me and my 2 brothers that whatever you guys decide to do in your life, just make sure you're the best at it. Doesn't matter what you do. But I think there was a sudden little bit of a hint that I had really no choice. I had to get into business. But I was not cut out to be into business. I really grew up enjoying art. I grew up enjoying music. I enjoyed playing a lot of sports. And I was like, how am I going to do this? So I knew that sooner or later I had to get into the business world. And at the age of 15, I was studying in a boarding school. And I said, if I have to start understanding what business is, I have to start learning and start understanding this world way, way before. So instead of coming back home on holidays, I used to stay back, in the place I was studying. And through some of my friends, I got a chance to get an internship in some of the investment banks. Working in some of the most reputed investment banks during the daytime. And at night time, I used to work as a waiter in a restaurant. I was in a boarding school in London at that time. Two lessons I would like to share with you from this time of my life, which till date resonates with who I am and what I want to do in life. The first one is, while I was working in investment bank, I had my bosses come up to me and tell me, all about mutual funds and the stock market and about cryptocurrency wasn't there at that time, but about treasury and different kind of instruments you can use in the stock market. And they were asking me, now 15-year-old, to come up with a $15 million portfolio. Now this wasn't a Yahoo money, this was actual $15 million of someone who worked hard, and I sort of entrusted the investment bank to manage the money. So my boss said, okay, you come up with a portfolio and design it, right? And again, I was getting so confused because most of these instruments were so complicated, and even a 15-year-old, so engaged in it, wasn't able to understand. I don't think many people, even at the investment bank that I was working, were able to explain to me the dynamics of these financial instruments. So I asked myself very simply, I'm like, okay, you know what, if tomorrow there's a world war, which are the sectors that's going to be recession-proof or world war-proof? So naive 15-year-old asking himself, if there's a war that breaks loose, people are not going to stop eating, right? So let me try and put 20% of my money in a good food company. So I selected a company called Nestle. And I did a lot of research on the leadership of Nestle. The CEO's vision, where he wants to take the company. The second thing I asked myself was, mobile phones. This was in the year 1998. And mobile phones had just come out. And I said, my God, this is only going to continue to grow. No matter what happens, we're not going to stop communicating with ourselves. So again, at that time, I invested 20% of the money in a company called Nokia, which was really, really technology, in terms of its R&D and all, really advancing itself, and became a leader at some point. Till the time they sort of pretty much forgot to reinvent themselves. So that's a different story. The third one was, I look back at my country and I'm like, we had 16 hours of no power at that time. Our infrastructure was not up to speed. I'm sure there must be companies, working on power development and infrastructure development. And there was a company called Tyco. And I invested 20% there. And 40% I invested in a capital protected deposit. Right? Couple of months, 6 months go by. And it so happens that there's an absolute stock market plunge. The capital market goes down by 45%. My boss's portfolio goes down by 85% because it's hedged and leveraged several times. My portfolio goes up by 25%. And I'm like, wow, okay. Although she got the bonuses for it, the second biggest learning I learned at that time was keeping things very, very simple. And I think in today's day and age, we're surrounded by technology, we're surrounded by options, we're surrounded by choices, we're surrounded by so many different facets that we go through in our life. I think eventually, if you take a step back, it's the simplest answers that make the most sense. It's the simplest solutions, that are the most everlasting, long-term, sustainable impact. The third thing I learned during the same time was, while I was working in the investment bank at night time, I used to work in this Nepali restaurant. Missing home food so much. I used to work a lot. The dynamics of the restaurant and investment bank would pretty much be the same. You have an organization in place, you have an input, output, raw material with your food, and your customers over there, processes, etc. Dynamics of the industry is different. But I asked the guy who owned the restaurant, I told him, listen, I'm going to work. And the restaurant was a pretty popular restaurant. So I used to work from 6 p.m. to about 12 p.m. sometimes, midnight. And I told the guy that, listen, just give me £1 a day. Because he had to pay me something. And believe it or not, till today, one of my most valued possessions I have is that 68 pounds I earned in the restaurant. Now it was the third and probably one of the most important values I learned at that time was understanding and appreciating the value of money. There's a very thin line between being stingy and being selfish and not giving your money, and respecting and utilizing your money to the best effect possible. That is what that experience with me taught me at that time. And every time when I look at, wanting to spend more unnecessarily or even at a particular deal or a particular investment, I sort of remind myself about that every pound I made during that time I worked in that restaurant. Which reminded me the value of money, which today sticks with me. The fourth thing that much later on in life I realized was, which again I think resonates a lot with our generation, is compassion. We talk about mindfulness activities, meditation, etc. But going beyond that, compassion individually is about making a difference in someone's life without really expecting anything back, but having a belief that there will be a further impact in someone's life or a community or a society. Now, all of you sitting in this hall, I think are far more fortunate than probably majority of the people your age that are in our country. You come from good families, you've been educated in good schools and colleges, and you just graduate. You have an expertise, you have a particular skill. Being compassionate doesn't really mean going and signing a big check and wanting to donate something in there. If you have a particular skill, my strong urge to you is take out an hour a week or an hour a month. We've done your BBA and BBS and different skills that you might have, or even maths or English or Nepali or anything. Just go to a school who do not have a proper faculty or a teacher. And go and spend time with the kids there. Just give me one example. If not, just take some seeds, see an area where there are no trees, plant, whatever. Just make a difference to this planet, to the community, to the society, to the people next to you, to the people in your family without expecting anything back. What this will happen is, this is going to really start recalibrating and redefining you as an individual as well. Trust me when I say this, but my purpose in life in 2015 and before was that I wanted to take my company as, if the multinationals would come to our country, why couldn't a Nepali company go outside? That was my vision, that was my purpose. I was driven that I want to put Nepal's flag in Europe, in Middle East, in Africa, etc. That was what I was driven by, finding the purpose. 2015, April earthquake happened. Due to circumstances, I was in a position to lead on behalf of my foundation. In a year's time, leveraging our private sector, our company's infrastructure and team on the ground, we were able to build 6,000 homes, 55 schools, 25 digital classrooms, 20 clean water treatment plants. We rebuilt a completely new village in Sindhupalchok and trained 7,000 people. This is in 1 year. And that's the time I realized, wow. Just imagine the power of the impact and the leverage that you have in terms of making a difference in someone's life. So my purpose changed at that time. That why am I working day and night and helping my company grow is that the more I can have my company grow, the more I can give it away tomorrow. The more I can make a difference in our people's life, in our country today. Forget about the world. Right? My focus is my country. My focus is the youth. My focus is all of us that are going to be making a difference tomorrow. The fifth thing that I learned, which is a little bit more non-serious, is, so I was going with my father, when I was 18 and I came back, and this was during the peak of the insurgency that was going on. I was coming to my father from Navantarasi to Kathmandu, and he was so excited, just having finished your schooling, and I went to a college in Kathmandu, and I was like, listen, I don't have an office for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been on the field, I've been going from 𝐍𝐢𝐫𝐶𝐚 selling stuff, I really want to do something. My father was like, dude, who's stopping me to do anything? He's like, yeah, but I've got this idea, and I need this much money, this. He's like, listen, if you want to prove yourself and grow up the organization, let's see if you figure this out. Because if you want to be an entrepreneur, then let's see how you figure it out. I said, how am I going to do that? He said, very simple, I'm going to tell you a story. If you figure the story out, then I think you'll figure your life out, right? So I've shared this story with a lot of youth in the past as well, and I really want to share this with you. This is the fifth learning I had. And I think probably one of the most important ones to me. He told me that, you know who John D. Rockefeller is? I said, of course, like at one time he used to be the biggest steel magnate in the world, probably in today's equivalent, probably twice more richer than Bill Gates or whatever. So anyway, while growing up, he came from a very humble background. He worked his way up. He had a childhood friend of his called Michael. And Michael had a son, whose name was James. So Michael asked James the same question, do you know who John D. Rockefeller is? And James is like, of course, I know him. And he's like, you know what, he's my childhood friend. If in life you have any problems, you feel that you failed, just go to him and tell your son, he's going to show you a way and help you out. Years go by and this guy, this John D. Rockefeller's childhood friend's son, he's trying and struggling and can't do anything. He tries to call John D. Rockefeller. But he can't just pick up the phone and call John D. Rockefeller. So he persistently tried calling his office, and one day the reception connected him to the secretary. Persistently, continuously called up the secretary, and the secretary, getting sick and tired of his calls, told John D. Rockefeller, this guy claims to be your childhood friend's son. He's like, of course, Michael's son. Why don't you call him to the hot dog stand in Central Park at 2 o'clock on Thursday? And the secretary calls him. This guy is like, hot dog in Central Park. I mean, if John D. Rockefeller wanted, he could have sent me a limousine or sent me his private jet, taken me somewhere else, etc. Anyway, he goes there. And he's waiting in the hot dog stand, and John D. Rockefeller comes with his entourage, and he's like, son, tell me how are things? And he's like, uncle, I'm trying doing this, and I failed, and I've tried doing this, I'm really frustrated in life, this, that. So John D. Rockefeller tells him, son, why don't you go buy 2 hot dogs and come? So this guy is like, I barely saved every penny coming in the bus and walking, and this guy is asking me to buy 2 hot dogs. So anyway, he buys 2 hot dogs and comes. And then they both have their lunch, and they're walking around Central Park, and right next to Central Park is the financial district. So the Rockefeller Center, John D. Rockefeller tells this guy, okay son, all the best of luck in life, okay, do keep in touch, tell me what's happening. And this guy is like very, very frustrated. He's like, what the hell, uncle? I asked you to come for help, and this is what you give me? And John D. Rockefeller looks at him and he says, son, do you know who did you buy lunch for today? There are hundreds of people queuing up to buy lunch for John D. Rockefeller. When I was taking with my arms across Central Park, hundreds of people were looking, saying, who's this guy with John D. Rockefeller? When we were walking through the financial district, the top banks, companies, CEOs were peeking out of their can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So the top companies, CEOs, and banks were looking out of the window and saying, who's this guy with John D. Rockefeller? Me, right under my building, I'm bidding you goodbye. If all this doesn't help you, then God help you. The entire message and the learning that I've had, the 5th most important learning that I've had is your network is your network. The people, the 4 people, the sum of 4 people that you always associate yourself with are the person you'll become in the future. When you look at people who are drug addicts, you'll always see them with other drug addicts. When you see them with successful salespeople, you'll always see them with successful salespeople. The people that you associate with yourself, especially now when you leave this room, is really going to determine your future and your fate as an individual and as a professional and as a family man, etc. It's so important to have the right people surround you. Look at Steve Jobs. He understood marketing, but he had other people doing the technical part and the actual hardware building part. That's how Apple came. That's how Microsoft came. Alibaba had 13 or 14 people together contributing their individual competencies, and that's how a company came. Surround yourself with good people. Collaborate, leverage. Lastly, you guys have heard of this concept called Ikigai, right? It's a Japanese concept. Very simple. What Ikigai basically says is, number 1, figure out what you're good at. Okay? I might be good at dancing. Number 2, after you figure out, first thing you need to figure out is what you really enjoy doing. And the second one is what you're good at. So I might be very good at dancing, but I might not be good at it. So you need to figure that out. The third thing is that what pays for that. Fourth thing is what the world needs. Once you're able to find these 4, columns in an Ikigai, I think you'll have a little bit more clarity going forward. If a lot of you are going outside this room thinking, I really don't know what's going to happen, I don't know what I'm going to do, if I should get into the corporate world, etc., it does not matter, it happens to everyone. You have a lot of time to still learn. Don't be in a rush to overnight build success. Take some time, learn, surround yourself with good people, keep exploring, keep learning, keep seeing it. I saw Matthew McConaughey, this Oscar award-winning actor. He was asked, who's your hero? And he said something so profound. He said, my hero is me 10 years from now. So when he got 10 years later on to who he wanted to be, again he said, my hero is 10 years later. Again he got there, but he'll never catch up and meet up to the expectation of the ideal hero of himself he had put. The point is, it does not matter if you've not met your hero after 10 years. The point is to strive, aim for a perfection and an ideal roadmap that you put, and enjoy the journey. I really hope you guys enjoy your journey and really, really walk out of this room smiling and with peace in your heart. Thank you.